This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we celebrate another NESCAC title for women's rowing, plus a salute to our swimming seniors. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The rowing teams competed in the NESCAC championships over the weekend on the Malden River. The men's first Varsity 8 finished a very close second place to Trinity in its heat, eventually finishing in fourth place overall on the day. The men's second Varsity 8 won by open water over Trinity in its heat before falling to Williams in the grand final. Good for second overall. The day before the men raced, the number one nationally ranked Bates women's rowing team won a fourth consecutive NESCAC title. Led by senior coxswain Liza Folsom and senior stroke Catharine Berry-Toon, the first Varsity 8 took on Williams first, racing to the finish in an open water victory, with the Eefs finishing 11 seconds behind. Then in the grand final, the Bates 1V defeated number 2 nationally ranked Hamilton for the championship by a margin of more than 7 seconds. Catharine Berry-Toon joined the Bobcast to represent the first Varsity 8, who together are our female Bobcats of the week.
Well, it's definitely been crazy getting back on the water and having such a quick turnaround to NESCAC championships. Usually we have, our whole training month of March, and then usually our first race, we haven't even been on the water at all. So it's kind of something we're used to, where we've had such little water time. And then we're suddenly racing. But we've been ready to go for a while now. So it was kind of nice just to have races back to back to back to get us back in the zone, I guess.
Take us through the races there over the weekend against first Williams, who you had not raced yet this year, and then Hamilton, who I believe you did race earlier in the season, right?
They were both really exciting races. Williams was definitely a race that we were looking forward to since we hadn't raced them yet. Our coach was getting us really hyped up for it. We were just looking forward to racing them since they had beat Wesleyan, who had previously been the second ranked team until Williams beat them last weekend. So we were really, really excited about racing them. It was an awesome race. They gave us their all. And then Hamilton was probably the best race we've had all season for sure. We got to do a huge sprint at the end, which it always gets us super excited and ready to go for our now we're getting ready to do that again at NCAAs.
And then you're at the stroke position in the boat, so that's right next to the coxswain. So obviously you and Folsom probably have a good working relationship there. What is that dynamic like?
Yeah, Liza's my roommate actually. So we've gotten really close, definitely over this season, and over the course of the last 4 years. But it's really fun to work with not only one of my closest friends, but such an awesome teammate. It's definitely a different dynamic when we're in the boat together. Our mindset changes a lot to just seeing what we can do to work together better, how we can fix the boat if it needs fixing. And just communicating between everyone else in the boat, and then between the two of us also.
Oh, so were you roommates before you became the stroke seat in the boat, or how did that go?
Yeah. So Liza and I live with two other of our boatmates two other of our teammates. And so we've been boatmates before, but now that we're together all the time and I'm also stroke, so I'm looking at her all the time now. Definitely getting sick of me.
And then the stroke position, take us through, for those who don't know, what makes it maybe different and unique from the other spots.
Yeah, so in the stroke position, you're the one who kind of sets the pace for the rest of the boat. The whole boat really works together to figure out what the stroke rate is. That could be a super low stroke rate when you're just kind of relaxed, or a super high stroke rate when you're sprinting. But yeah, the whole boat kind of just works together to set the tone, the speed. And then our coach likes to say that the stroke pair really sets the cadence of the whole boat. So yeah, it's definitely it feels like a unique position sometimes. because sometimes you can feel some things that not everyone in the boat can feel. And yeah, you just kind of look for ways to make it go faster.
It's a very experienced group, isn't it, in the 1B? I mean,
Yeah.
you all were together as sophomores, right? 2 years ago. I mean, was it easy to pick it back up again?
Yeah, it's crazy that the last time we rowed together was 2 years ago. Since a lot of the people in the boat were abroad in junior fall. But yeah, it's 7 seniors currently in the first varsity boat, and 2 juniors. So it's definitely a upper class boat. It's really, we've rowed together for the last 4 years. So it was definitely a lot easier than it would have been, I think, to get back into the pace of things.
Great. And then take us back to when you were in high school looking for colleges. What led you to Bates?
Rowing rowing definitely led me to Bates. I had actually my cross country coach when I did cross country in high school, she had rowed at Bates. She had graduated 2 years before becoming my cross country coach. And I had already been looking at Bates. I had done some rowing camps where I met the assistant coach at the time of Bates. But yeah, my cross country coach my senior year of high school really pushed me to go to Bates. She told me a lot about Bates rowing, things that I don't think I would have found out until I had come here. She was just definitely a very inspiring person, and set the tone of what like Bates rowing looks like. So she was a huge part. But Bates has always been about rowing. It's always been a huge part of my life. So that was what pushed me to go here, I think.
And what was the name of your coach?
Becky O'Neill. She
Okay.
graduated from here in like 2015, maybe. Yeah.
So she told you all about the experience of like going to NCAAs and stuff, I assume?
Yeah, she talked about NCAAs. She had been a novice rower when she came to Bates, and then was a captain her senior year at Bates. Yeah, I remember her telling me some crazy like stories just about like rowing and being so inexperienced. And then she was one of the like hardest working people I've ever met.
Well, take us back even further, I guess. When did you start rowing? How did you get into the sport?
I started rowing in high school. I went to a boarding school, so that was the first time I had heard of rowing. I had an older sister who went to Wellesley, and then she had rowed for a year there. So that was the first time I saw rowing. I visited her parents' weekend, I think, when I was still before I'd even gone to high school, and I got on an erg because they were doing some sort of erg thing for the families. So I think that was the first time I'd been on an erg. And then I wanted to row when I got into high school because I thought it would just look really cool.
But your background growing up, was it more in running, it sounds like, or were there some other sports involved?
I played a lot of sports before just focusing on rowing. I used to play soccer. I did cross country and I swam when I was in high school. I did 3 sports in high school: cross country, swimming, and then rowing.
Great. What was the biggest adjustment when you first got into a boat, just for rowing in general?
I think it was just figuring out how to work with other people, because I had done such solitary sports for a while. Definitely learning how to move with other people and learning how to like fix mistakes that are not just yours, but how to work with the other people in your boat to fix the mistakes that you're feeling.
And then tell me about the experience sophomore year being in that 1B for the championship that season.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was my first NCAAs at Bates. I had been in the 2V my freshman year, actually, but then I broke my foot 2 days before, and like 2 days before everyone was getting set to for NCAAs. So it was really cool. It was a really great group of seniors that year. A really like powerful, strong boat. And it was definitely intimidating to be racing after like Bates had won nationals the year before, and then the year before that. So it was very exciting.
Great. Well, give us your thoughts on NCAAs coming up now and the end of the month here, because obviously Bates got the automatic bid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a load off to have that bid. But I think we're just looking forward to racing all those teams that we would have already raced by now, like WPI or Ithaca, a bunch of other schools that are definitely competitive. And we're hoping that we'll be prepared. I'm sure we will be. But yeah, we definitely still have a lot of work left to put in before then.
Sounds good. Catharine Berry-Toon, our female Bobcat of the week, representing the first Varsity 8 NESCAC champions once again for Bates. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Aaron.
The baseball team wrapped up its season over the weekend, dropping a pair of games to Colby. It was a tough year for the Bobcats, but senior captain Christian Beal finished his Bates career on Sunday by going 4 for 5 with 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, and a run scored. His career batting average in 52 games over 3 seasons as a Bobcat settles at .354. And Christian Beal is our male Bobcat of the week.
Obviously, the whole world, changed in the matter of the past year. Really, I just tried to adapt to it. I'm just remain positive. I've enjoyed being at Bates during these unprecedented times. I think that Bates has really done a good job of, keeping me positive in the right spot. And that's the same thing my coach has done, my teammates have done. And I wouldn't want to go through these unprecedented times with anyone else other than my teammates. And it's something that I'm always going to look back on. And then on the field, I made a lot of memories that sophomore year. And when I look back at Bates, I'm really going to think about that sophomore year and that group of guys because that was so special. And coming back from Ohio, didn't play. And I never knew what the story was going to be for my baseball career after that. And going back and playing that sophomore year and competing again, I really couldn't ask for a better year. My sophomore year and my junior year last year, I thought that team was going to be special. I was talking to Martin about that yesterday. That junior year's team, we were deep. We were just going to be a really good team. We were experienced. And it was a real shame that our season got, cut short because coming off that 9-3, we were building on that. I thought the tables were going to turn during that. And then obviously everything got shut down. But looking back on it, I'm blessed and I'm always going to be blessed to be a Bobcat. So.
Excellent. And off the field, you got done in the classroom also. I know you're one of our senior scholars award winners this year for your GPA, your performance in the classroom. So tell me how you were able to balance those two. It's always the classic academics and athletics, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the way I was raised. I knew my mom's always put academics first and baseball was always second. It was no comparison between that. Get the homework done and then go hit and then you eat dinner. That's the way I was raised. So it's always been first. And when I got here, I never wanted to be defined by one thing throughout my entire life. And especially here as I get older, I never want to be, defined by just a baseball player or, defined by just a, kid in the classroom or a nerd. I always wanted to be both. And my cousin kind of formed a definition for me when I was in high school. It's called, it depends like a jock and a nerd combined. She calls it your nerd. And that's kind of the way I describe myself. But yeah, I mean, Bates it's to me, I've really enjoyed the professors. The classes here are really intriguing. You learn a lot. They're eye-opening and you really learn from your classmates here. So doing the work was easy because you're really learning from your classmates and you're tackling these complex issues with your classmates. So, I've enjoyed it. And, keeping my curiosity is the reason why my GPA is probably so high. I was so curious and invested in the books.
Great. Well, this past weekend, obviously a tough one there against Colby. You had 4 hits, though, in your final game as a Bobcat. It's a weird dilemma, though, right? In baseball, you're like feeling great at the plate. You look at the scoreboard, like, oh, man, this isn't how we want. But I mean, what was your thoughts kind of going through that game? You're obviously a couple doubles for you, a couple ribbies, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go back to the entire year. It's been kind of a weird year because I started off real hot. And I had that great weekend and it was weird because a lot of singles for me. It wasn't no extra base hits. And I appreciated that day, but 5 for 8, 5 singles. It was really I've never really done it. Usually got a couple of doubles sprinkled in there, this and that. Then you take the whole 2 weeks off. And then we came back and played toughs and, we were a little off timing. My time was off a little bit because we took 2 weeks off. And then, then I went in the streak of, I was hitting balls right at people. I mean, errors where, guys couldn't feel it. I was hitting at them, but still not hits. But,
Right.
Obviously getting on base, helping my team score runs and all that. But it was every time I lined out or hit it at somebody for an error. And then I'm like, dang, I can't buy a hit, man. And going into this weekend, I mean, I played Colby the first weekend, and then going this weekend, I lined out 3 times on Saturday, and then I was like, at this point, this is fun. I mean, I just can't find green, but it's just baseball. And then yesterday, obviously, you just found a lot of green, and I'm very, it's baseball's like that sometimes. Yesterday was just one of those days where I found green, but how to manage that with a 20-3 loss, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's hard. It was tough. It was tough to be part of that because you out there, you compete, you just try to compete, and when it's not going your way, the bounce not going your way, it can get real frustrating. And when you want to put out a product that everyone wants to be proud of, every inning, and everyone at Bates can be proud of and look at and watch. And when you lose like that, it hurts. But I always remember what my mom and Coach Martin always tell me, and that's you're just gonna play every inning, every at bat like it's your last one. And happen to be my last one at Bates, but just play everything like your last one, whether it's beating out infield singles or hitting doubles off the wall. I just try to, play every at bat like it's my last one.
And as we discussed before, you do have some more baseball in your future with Richmond next year. Do you have any summer ball plans lined up? I know those get lined up pretty early, right?
Yeah, summer ball is it's a really tough circumstances because of, I was supposed to go to Northwoods last summer. COVID happened. That kind of got messed up. So I played in a really, really good league called Newport Collegiate League this past summer, allowed me to play in front of a lot of scouts and coaches. Obviously, Richmond paid attention to that. Got there from Richmond. This year, I was signed again to Northwoods, team in Canada. That team got dismantled because of COVID. And, obviously I was signed in, I believe, I want to say September. So way, way early, because that's when you really sign.
Right.
And then again, I hear in March that, there's no place. So I have to find a new place. And it's been kind of a scramble with a lot of guys my incoming class at Richmond or my graduate class at Richmond. We're all trying to find a place. But I think I will be playing in the Futures League with the Westfield Starfires with another kid from UPenn who's going to Richmond. So we're going to play there honestly, we'll see how long it is. But summer ball, you never know.
Right. Well, you're familiar with the Futures League. You played there 2 years ago. So
yeah, I just need to get at bats. You know how it is. I need to get at bats before I go to Richmond. Like you said, I've only had a certain number of bats the last couple of years. So I need to get bats, put some numbers on the board and, keep going.
And so speaking of Richmond, what are your thoughts about next year and what are you most looking forward to? Anything you're nervous about?
I'm not nervous. I think that, when I came here, it's kind of the same thing, right? I came here as a sophomore, and I didn't know what to expect. Like I said, I don't know what to expect at Richmond either. I know it's a good program. I know the coaches are really, are good. And obviously no one's there, so he tells me this and that, but, I'm just going to go in, and embrace everything and be the player that I've been here, or I've tried to be here all throughout my 3 years here. And hopefully the rest will take care of itself. But again, it's obviously, D1 baseball, but I don't ever try to get lost in that. I'm just gonna go play my brand of baseball and play the game I love the way I was raised.
Great. Well, any other thoughts you wanted to share about your time as a Bobcat we haven't talked about yet?
I just want to say thank you to you and thank you to everyone who's made my time so memorable and fun. You've really kept it, loose, and you've really put together some great stories throughout my years here. And I always loved watching the recaps, or reading the recaps, watching the highlights, and your calls and my catches. I'm gonna miss those. So I just want to say thank you to you and the entire Bates community for your support over the last 3 years. It's been amazing, and I wouldn't have asked for a better 3 years. So thank you guys.
Well, I appreciate that. And Christian, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. You've obviously been a great player for the Bobcats. We're looking forward to seeing you play at Richmond and in the future. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron.
The swimming and diving teams held a senior recognition ceremony on Friday, and now it's our turn to salute the seniors on the Bobcast. We are joined first by women's team captains Caroline Apathy, Elizabeth Cullen, and Lily Scott. First of all, as a trio of captains, Elizabeth, we'll start with you. How has your kind of leadership strategy been this past year, considering the situation we're in, right, with the pandemic?
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to have 2 people next to me that I trust. I think going into a situation where no one really knows how to be a leader, we don't have any precedent. No one's been through this situation before. And we have to bring in a group of first years that have never been to Bates, don't really get the opportunity to compete with us. And so we started the year kind of brainstorming ideas to get them involved and to even allow us to spend time with some of the underclassmen and the juniors as well. We did some trips at the beginning of the year. We did a scavenger hunt with them, and just having Caroline and Lily to lean on and to bounce ideas off of and to just spend time with during my senior year was phenomenal.
Terrific. Caroline, tell us a little bit about the senior recognition ceremony you all had this past weekend. How cool was that?
It was so fun. I had an amazing time. It was, going into this year, we knew, and with the season canceled, we knew that we wouldn't have the normal celebration of seniors at our senior meet, which is pretty fun because we get to race another team. But the juniors did a phenomenal job of, making us feel special and important. And I appreciated, and we all appreciated it so much. I cried for a very long time because it was very touching and sweet. They involved our family from home, and it was just awesome.
Lily, what were your takeaways from the ceremony?
Oh, I mean, there were so many. I think we had some expectations, of course, because we didn't really have a lot of events this year because of COVID. And so I think our expectations were not too sky high, but the juniors and the coaching staff and everyone on the team really just blew past our expectations and just gave us a night to really commemorate the last 4 years of swimming and all of our years on top of that of swimming in general as well, and just made it super special for us.
And Elizabeth, how'd it go from your perspective?
Yeah, it was better than anything I could have ever imagined. I think the best part for me was having the freshmen and the sophomores come on deck, and they did top 10 lists, which we usually do on our training trip, which we unfortunately didn't get to go on this year. And seeing the year that they had and seeing them reflect on the year and have positives from this year. I know I had positives from this year, but them reiterating that they also had that and they had a good year and they made memories and we were able to have somewhat of a successful season, or in my mind, a more successful season than I could have ever imagined in COVID, was really heartwarming.
Excellent. And then Lily, you and Elizabeth, the first time I think on the Bobcast, right? So we always ask this, how did you first decide that Bates was the place for you? Lily, we can start with you.
Bates was actually the only recruiting trip where I just enjoyed every single aspect of it. I loved the people immediately on the team and on campus. Everyone was super friendly. Academics, of course, were really just like top notch. So that was a huge tick on the list. And then also, of course, the coaching staff, PC, Vanessa, and Bill Wallace, all were just so welcoming on my recruiting trip. So they really made it an easy decision for me. I ended up going like D2 after applying ED1 to Bowdoin. Thank God I got rejected, because if I didn't go to Bates, I couldn't have imagined what my last 4 years would have looked like. I have such an amazing group of friends around me that I'm leaving with, and I could not be more grateful.
Well, I got to ask you then, the Bowdoin meets, that always have a little extra motivation for you, perhaps?
Yeah, Bowdoin's always been a great competitor for us, regardless of my history with them or not. But yeah, no, Bowdoin's always been great competition, but I love my Bates Bobcats.
And Elizabeth, how about for you? How did you decide to become a Bobcat?
Yeah, my decision was like really kind of down to the wire. It was almost like a May 1st deadline choice. In senior year of high school, I kind of was questioning if I really wanted to swim or not in college. So my college search was definitely far and wide. But after coming to Bates and seeing the opportunity I would have I knew I wanted to come in as a math major, and then people on the team actually convinced me that economics would also be a great fit for me. I came the first night of short term and got to stay with one of the swimmers and then do an accepted students day. And that next day, when I saw my parents during accepted students day, I was like, this is the place I want to be, like, no more questions about it. Everyone says it, but it was really the people that convinced me. It was a team that I felt I would be supported on all the time. After my meeting with PC, I knew I would always have an adult to go to. I think going into college, it's a little bit scary when you're going to be on your own. And I just felt like Bates Swim and Dive was a place that I would have someone to lean on from the first day I stepped on campus. And that has been true. And I'm coming out with friends that I'll have for a lifetime and a support system that I know I'll be able to go to even years after college.
Excellent. Let's go around the panel and get your answers on, but the most memorable meets during your time as a Bobcat. Caroline, we can start with you in terms of your most memorable meets for you.
Off the top of my head, I'd probably have to say Maine State meet for some reason. Like, I know nationals and NESCACs are pretty big meets that are always memorable, but I remember coming in as a freshman, the Maine State meet was just so much fun. It was the first meet we got to suit up with the team, and I had a blast, and I'll always remember swimming at Bowdoin with Bates.
Great. Lily, how about for you?
My favorite meet off the top of my head would be our first meet of the dual season every year, which is the tri-meet with Wesleyan and Trinity. We just have so much energy after training all preseason and then beginning of November. We just have been dying to like get in the pool every year, and just having all of that energy like finally come to fruition at the beginning and have it carry us through the rest of the season really just sets the tone. And I have good friends in actually both of the other teams, or not both the other teams, just Trinity. And so I always love like seeing them, and it's just, yeah, just great vibes on deck.
Terrific. Elizabeth, how about for you?
Yeah. I'm going to say NESCACs my sophomore year was probably my all-time favorite meet. It was actually the last meet I ever got to compete in, so it kind of has a special place in my heart. Yeah, I'm still here, but I'm happy to be here. I just had everyone, I think, swam phenomenally. I kind of had a better head on my shoulders after kind of going in deer in the headlights freshman year, not knowing what to expect. I think I was a little bit calmer and a little bit more excited, and I really got to enjoy my swimming as well as everyone else's swimming. People did phenomenal at me, and it was just great energy and always exciting. I also really enjoyed junior year when I came back from abroad. I didn't swim at NESCACs. I had a broken ankle, but just being there and kind of watching everyone swim, I think I really appreciated their successes. Like even more than I could have ever, because that was kind of what I got to do. And just standing in the stands and videotaping, I really saw everyone kind of mesh and everything fall into place after the season, and saw everyone's hard work pay off. And it was just really exciting to get to be there. And then PC won Coach of the Year that year as well. So that was also a great moment.
And I believe that year, Caroline, you won a NESCAC title. You won a couple of NESCAC titles during your time as a Bobcat. Take us through those races and what you remember and what it means to you to, have all those honors, I guess, during your time as a Bobcat here.
It's a lot of adrenaline going into like the A final, but like I love butterfly because when you do an open turn, you get to see the people that are cheering for you. And at both meets, I saw my team's faces, like my teammates cheering me on, and I loved swimming last NESCAC, the 100 fly next to Yannicka Ho, who is like one of my good friends, and I had the best time swimming next to her for one final moment, and I gave her the biggest hug, and it was such a great moment. And yeah, I think having the teammates behind the blocks is definitely something that's puts a cherry on top of a win, I guess.
Well, and it's interesting because at the time you didn't know that'd be the last time, right? I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, my last race was the 400 free relay, and that was also Yannicka's last race. So like when we were going up for podium, she's like, guys, this is my last race. I'm like, oh yeah. It was just, it's crazy to think about.
And then speaking of like, teammates and everything, Elizabeth, how cool was it to you mentioned obviously, unfortunately, you're injured and whatnot, but you touched on that, watching your teammates succeed. That's got to be a big part of swimming, right? I mean, that team atmosphere, right?
Absolutely. I'm a distance swimmer, and I would say the people that practice in the lane with me are the people that have gotten me through everything during my swim career. I wouldn't be there without them. I would say being a distance swimmer is that's what you're good at, and somewhat someone has to do it at some points. And there are no people that I would rather do it for during those moments that I don't want to be doing it. And so having that support system, Kaylee Swintack, she's a junior. She's kind of been with me through it all. Lucy Faust, she graduated, but she was a great role model for me. And like one of my proudest moments this year was seeing Julia Johnson. She's a freshman, come in and doing the 1,000 free in the pool and getting a pool record. And I think seeing that kind of legacy of distance swimmers move on and seeing her work hard and seeing her improve even during a season we're not competing was amazing. It was really inspiring.
Awesome. Well, we'll go around the panel here just for your final thoughts. Anything else you wanted to mention about your time as a Bobcat swimmer we haven't got to talk about? Lily, we can start with you.
It's hard to say a final goodbye because it doesn't feel like a goodbye. As Elizabeth mentioned, when we leave here, we're always going to have the ties that connect us back to Bates Swim and Dive. And I just couldn't be more grateful for Peter and Vanessa and Bill, obviously, for all of their hard work and coaching us all and just being great teachers over the years, as well as mentors personally. I couldn't be more grateful for my senior class who went through this crazy year in the last 4 years as well. Just being able to make it through college in general is a huge accomplishment, and being a collegiate athlete and a swimmer all these years is just a huge undertaking. And I wouldn't be where I am today without the friendships and relationships that I've formed from the sport. And I just wish everyone the best after we leave. And I hope our class hopefully leaves something for the underclassmen to take with them in the future. And if they ever need to reach out, they feel like they can. And we'll be back for some meets for sure.
Excellent. Caroline, how about for you? Final thoughts?
I guess just there's something about the Bates Swim and Dive team that attracts special people. Like when I think about my teammates and my friends, there's something unique and special about each person. And I know not everyone can come on here and talk about their swimming experience at Bates, but every single person has something to say, and it's been awesome. And I'm so grateful for all the support that Vanessa, Peter, and Bill have given me and all the friendships I've made. I'm going to miss it so much. And yeah, I'm sure the swim team's also in great hands with the underclassmen. They're killing it.
Awesome. And Elizabeth, how about for you?
Yeah, I'm going to say I'm glad I stuck around in the sport of swimming just because of the people that I got to surround myself with. This is a team that I feel like I could go up to anyone and have a conversation. And I feel like every single person that's on the pool deck with me makes me better in some way, whether that's training with me or just being a positive presence in my life. The coaching staff has gotten me through so much at Bates, not just swimming included, through my academics and just through navigating life as a new college student to being a senior and trying to write my thesis during a pandemic. And I'm going to say that swimming at Bates was probably one of the best parts of my Bates experience. And the senior class that I got to do it all with, freshman year, we were at a meet and I said, guys, I really, really don't want to be seniors. And they all kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And now I'm sitting here and it feels like that was 2 seconds ago. And I'm still sad that we're all going to go our separate ways, but I know they're all going to do phenomenal things and they're going to go and become better people than they are already. And I can't wait to watch them do that. And I can't wait to come back and spend more time with them. And I also can't wait to watch what the juniors do as leaders of the team next year, as well as the underclassmen grow and become better swimmers and see the freshmen actually get to compete. So yeah, I definitely thank Bates for making me such a better person than I was before.
On the men's side, senior captains Nick Antonellis and Lee Emmerich joined the show to look back on their times as Bobcats. First of all, let's just talk about the event Friday night at Tarbell Pool. Looked like it was a great send-off for the seniors. Nick, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the presentation there by the juniors and the other non-senior athletes?
It was very heartfelt and it was very sincere. We know that the juniors put a lot of effort and thought into what was going on, and there were a lot of iterations of what the ceremony was going to look like. We also really need to thank our coaches, Peter, Vanessa, and Bill, for their effort in this and kind of sticking to it and seeing through that we actually did get a senior ceremony, which we all really, really appreciated. And it was a very nice way to close 4 years, even though we really didn't get that traditional senior season. It was very nice, and we all really appreciated it.
Lee, what was your major takeaways from the ceremony there on Friday?
I totally agree with everything that Nick said. This whole year, the coaches and our underclassmen and the juniors have all put in so much work to try to give us a special last year, because they know that we're missing out on like a lot of the big major things that the seniors get to do. So that senior celebration really was really special to see that, all of our friends and our coaches care about us like that. PC the other day was talking to me about how, like, in a normal year, normally we'd have to do it really quick because it's in the middle of a meet, and like we're super tired because it's like the hardest meet weekend of the whole season pretty much. So this year we had like a full hour just fully dedicated to us, which was really special, even though it was not too traditional.
Right, exactly. Nick, we'll ask both of you this, but Nick, we'll start with you in terms of take us back to when you were in high school. Would love to know what made Bates kind of the place for you when you're looking at colleges.
It was my end of my junior year. In the beginning of the summer to my senior year, I got an email from Vanessa and Peter expressing interest. I had actually never really heard of Bates before, but in talking about the recruiting process with my grandfather, he was very, very excited to hear that Bates was interested in me, because Bates was a school that he looked at to play football way back in the 60s. And unfortunately, he could not come to Bates because he couldn't afford it. And he knew that it was a very good opportunity for me. So he really pushed me to look heavily into Bates. I came on my recruiting trip. I met some lovely guys who really took care of me and made me understand that this team was more than just the traditional swimming team. This was a men's and women's team that was a family. Because unlike some of the other NESCAC schools that I visited, the men's and women's team at Bates was the closest that I'd ever seen. And it was something that I very much enjoyed. It was something I very much wanted. And I mean, Bates's academics spoke for themselves. There was really no question or no concern for me on that part. So, after my recruiting trip and after all of my recruiting trips, seeing what I saw at Bates and understanding the caring, the connectful, and just the welcomeness, I knew that this was a place that I was going to be happy at.
Excellent. Lee, how about for you?
I didn't hear about Bates until, I guess, a little late in the game. I was a senior, I think, because I was checking out Wesleyan, and that didn't really work out. And through the coach at Wesleyan, I kind of found out about Bates. And then, like Nick, I ended up doing a recruiting trip, and I loved it. And then, like, through the whole application process, Bates was really good about, like, making it work financially. I was really into, like, the mission of the school. I liked the swim team, obviously. I liked the coaches. Yeah, and then I came here and I liked it even more.
Funny story about Lee and I. We were both at a meet our senior year in Ithaca, New York, and I saw Lee with a Bates swimming and diving hat on. So I went up to him and I said hi, and Lee actually didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who he was, and it was really funny.
Well, another funny aspect of that story, like when Nick was 18, he looked exactly how he looks right now. So I thought like he was an upperclassman who was visiting his high school and like was swimming. So I thought like some 21-year-old was saying hey to me, and I felt super awkward and I walked away.
It was very funny.
And so what's it been like now being captains this year, obviously in an unprecedented time?
Being a captain this year was a bit of a challenge. One of the things and the major takeaways that I think Lee and I took away from this year, and some type of a pearl of wisdom, you might say, that we imparted onto the juniors, is that you really can't do this job alone, and it does not work that well if you have two guys just trying to lead it. And so we really sat the juniors down and we talked to them about, being open with us about ideas, and we were honest with them about their position as leaders on this team. And I think it's a program that's in the development, but I think Lee and I have started as something that the underclassmen and everybody is starting to realize that we are all individual leaders on this team. So we all have to act accordingly and do such in order to achieve our goals. And I think that was one of the successes that we could say that we can take away from this year.
Lee, how about for you? What's it like being a captain with Nick?
Yeah, well, I got to totally echo what Nick said about it being kind of a difficult year because, you know, you think about the captains to come before us, they had previous examples of like what a captain does in a normal season. So this year, a lot of that kind of got, you know, thrown out the window. It's a whole different ball game now because, you know, we're not really swimming like we normally do. We don't have meets. The rules are different. So Nick and I, you know, it was hard to know like what our role is in like this new swim team this year. But at the same time, it was like a, you know, a huge honor because I think about all of the people who were captains before me, and there are some of, you know, I look up to those guys and those girls to this day. And then I think about all of our, you know, the people on our team. Like it's an honor to be in charge of such like successful people. They're great athletes. They're just great people. They're really smart. So it means a lot, but it was hard.
Certainly. And then take us back to your first 3 years when you did have meets. Maybe what's the most memorable meet during your time as a Bobcat, if you look back on it, Nick?
I would probably say that for me, the most memorable, I would say it's my freshman year NESCAC meet. That was a blast. I mean, first time swimming in the conference meet and, you know, swimming for Bates in front of everybody else was fantastic. It was an honor and it was a great opportunity. And it became more of an honor as the years went on and the team grew and we had to, you know, start like competing for spots on the NESCAC team because we can only take, I think it's 32 guys to NESCACs, and we now have a team of 40. It got more competitive and it was great. But freshman year, it stands out as the highlight of that. And then I think this a very close second, if not just a tie for first, would be last year when we beat Colby for the CBB title, because the year before that they beat us and it stung a little. So it was really nice to beat them and, you know, just have the CBB title, which we hadn't had since before Lee and I actually came to Bates.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Lee, how about for you? Memorable meets? Colby probably up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if someone like wasn't from Bates, Colby would have been a pretty memorable meet if they were just like a witness. But I think my like favorite meet at Bates was probably my sophomore year in NESCACs actually. Because like Nick was talking about, like that was a competitive year to go to NESCACs, and I was having like kind of a rough training year. Like I wasn't doing as well as I was hoping in season meets, and I like got into NESCACs like by the skin of my teeth, and I was super nervous that I wasn't gonna show up, like perform. But once I was there, like the energy was right, and like being with all my friends, like I don't know. I mean, it's true at every NESCACs, like the atmosphere that gets created, like all of a sudden you feel like you can do anything. But like that year, I don't know, it was just a great energy, and like the connections between the teams. The team for me was like particularly good that year, and it was probably one of my best meets ever. And we did well, like as a school, all in all.
Awesome. And then last question for both of you, just kind of any final thoughts you wanted to share about your time as a Bobcat?
I don't know. I guess I'll just say that, like, I mean, I can talk about the swim team. I can't talk about other sports, but like, it's crazy how much we're like a family. Like that, I feel like it's such a cliched term. Like when people say like, "Oh, my team is my family," and like maybe in all cases it is true, but like I was shocked because like I didn't experience this like in high school swimming or club swimming, but like all of my best friends are like on the swim team, and like the people that I like want to be around are the people who are on the swim team, and it's just like an amazing environment. And I'm really lucky because like coming to school, I was nervous about like meeting new people, but then all of a sudden, once you like walk onto the pool deck for the first time, it's like, oh, here are like 50 given close friends. Like you don't even have to do anything, and they're just there for you. So that's what is most important about being a Bobcat, I guess, for me, is that connection.
It's also amazing how strong those connections are, because Lee can speak to this too, but our alumni network, they come. People that have graduated 15, 20 years ago come to our meets at WPI. They come to NESCACs. They come to the home opener, Wesley and Trinity. We have no idea who they are until the end of the meet when they're like, hi, my name is Chris. I graduated in 1990. How are you doing? And then, when Peter and Vanessa and Bill put on events where the alumni get to come, they show up, and it's fantastic. And I mean, that also reflects in the FBA challenge. Right. But I mean, it's nice to know that, as a graduating senior, I'm not really stepping out into an unknown world where I'm going to be alone. There are people that I can talk to, people that I have been talking to that are there for me and who can help guide me and have helped guide me.
Awesome. Nick Antonellis and Lee Emmerich, thank you so much for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks, Aaron.
We also caught up with Bates swimming and diving head coach Peter Casares, who salutes all the seniors on his teams. He looks back on the senior ceremony and tells us the impact each senior made on the program.
I thought it went phenomenal. We had a chance to get them together and give them back some of the things that were taken away this year. And that was a little bit of the theme. I know they missed out on meets, a senior night at their last dual meet. They missed out on a training trip. And so some of the traditions that we've done with senior dinners and recognitions and training trip activities and team bonding things that we have become part of who we are and what makes us so close slipped through our fingers. So we gave them back a lot of those in a really sweet 1 hour and 15-minute ceremony. And I just got to tell you, our junior class did a phenomenal job of organizing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that needed to happen, whether it was decorating the pool with balloons and streamers or getting gift bags ready for them to walk off the deck with mementos in them, pictures and notes and other little things that were really great that they just put together all on their own. So I think they felt a lot of love from the team and the coaching staff and their parents. We did some video displays on our scoreboard, which was really great. An alumni sent in videos, parents sent in videos. And the coaches came up with a slideshow. So there was a lot of different kind of moments there that have never been done before. And I thought it was really cool. And they probably have had the best senior recognition we have ever come up with, which is something they deserve after, like I said, missing out on so much. So we were really happy with it. And I felt like it really kicked off these last couple of weeks on campus for them and the vibe they get to bring all the way home to when they do graduate.
Great. Let's go through the women and the men in alphabetical order, starting with the women's team, talk about each of the seniors. We'll start with Caroline Apathy. Of course, you speak of missing out on opportunities. Caroline only got to swim at 2 NCAAs. One is a first year, one is a sophomore. Did get All-America status as a junior, but didn't get to compete at NCAAs. And of course, senior year, unfortunately, completely wiped out. So, I mean, it's kind of a matter of, wow, what could have been, I guess, in terms of, I'm sure you would have loved to see how she could have developed into her senior year, right? In terms of, I'm sure you got some times at Tarbell in terms of, on the national stage, right?
Caroline's a 15-time All-American, and she missed out on her last 2 actual meets at that national level. So you're looking at a situation where you could be claiming her as the most decorated athlete in Bates history, even if she had those opportunities. And she just was a super special athlete, just knew how to get the job done. And we've had some tremendous athletes. When you talk about specificity and being the butterflyer and freestyler that she was, she set program records with splits and times. And, we've never had anybody ranked number 1 in the country, let alone do it 2 times. In her junior year, she was ranked number 1 in the country going into nationals after being abroad in Australia first semester. So I don't even think she had hit her peak yet. Like, she was ready for those next 4 weeks to unfold and be even faster. And that's a blessing going into a national meet, not trying to replicate what you did, but knowing that you could be better. And so I was, heartbroken for her. And for the program, we might have had our first ever NCAA champion. We've had a couple of runner-ups with Vanessa and Sarah DeHare. But that might have been a real special moment for us. So it just speaks to kind of, the resiliency that needed to happen. And we didn't get a choice in whether it could or couldn't. She just, kept showing up senior year and training with her teammates and being a part of the program and leading on a lot of different levels, whether it was in the pool or over Zooms when we had a lot of our really important team culture talks that we did this year. Just a great teammate and tremendous on relays. And anybody that swam with her just felt like they were really in a special situation. I get to swim with Caroline.
Terrific. And then Anna Barrow graduating in 3 years. I mean, that's a rarity at any school, and in particular Bates. What do you say about Anna Barrow and her accelerated timeline here through her Bates undergrad?
I guess graduating in 3 years is a little bit of the Anna Barrow mystique. She was a walk-on on our program and turned out to score at the 3 conference meets that she went to. And when you have a women's team over 30 and you're only taking 24, though there's 24 recruited athletes on that team, and each year she found a way to make an impact and improve drastically. So she did things that you just didn't expect, whether it was graduating in 3 years and getting all those credits done and doing things like that, or stepping up and being a member of your 800 free relay when you only have eight spots between 2 relays. And there she was, one of the top 8 swimmers in that event, able to help us out each year, and we knew we could count on her. So just a phenomenal young woman and somebody that exceeded every expectation.
And then Lauren Bukri, big time leader as well for the program, especially this past year, right?
Yeah, Lauren has been a phenomenal member of the program every year, just lights up a pool deck, gives it everything she has, and is grateful and happy to be on the pool deck. And this year, as we went through all the Black Lives Matter and racial violence and disparity in this country and really had our eyes opened up, you don't want to always lean on your BIPOC team members, and we put her in a situation where we just supported her and gave her as much love as possible, and then she took the reins and really helped us hear and learn and step into the experience she had, whether it was in that phenomenal article that you and her put together, or if it was in a Zoom or in a team meeting or one-on-one with a teammate to try to explain the human side of the situation, not just the black and white national news TV stuff you see. This is real life stuff with real people. And she brought us to another level as a program in terms of that, and her undying support for a program that is predominantly white and a sport that is predominantly white. And it never made her second guess her role and her love for it. So we are very thankful for that.
Terrific. And then Helen Bruckner, 3-time NESCAC all-academic selection. What can you say about what she's been able to do as a Bobcat?
I want to say a word that probably shouldn't show up on the Bobcast, but she is just 100% tough as nails and all business. And she would get it done in the pool and in practice, but she let you know what she thought, and she stood up for things that she felt were really important. And she spoke to the things that you want team members to speak to. And so Nell was a tremendous teammate and made a big impact in all of our meets, playing tremendously important roles, cheering and swimming and talking to teammates. So we were really lucky to have Nell leading the way on a lot of different fronts.
We already talked about one All-American, but another All-American was Erin Bucky and what she was able to do, right?
She is such a great story. She came in freshman year, and I saw somebody that was just the sweetest, hardest working person you could ask for. And she swam okay freshman year. And I just went, wow, we did not get out of you what you're capable of. And there's much more to come, but I never knew how much there was. And I'll never forget her sophomore year. She was just in the best shape of her life, doing things in practice that made me go, my God, she's going to nationals this year. And freshman year, I didn't even know if she was going to score top 16 in the conference. And she was one of those just national level relay swimmers that played a huge role in us getting to those top 15 rankings in the country, because she added this depth with this improvement, these drastic improvements that made everybody believe, man, I can go from being 17th and 18th in the conference all the way to one of the 12 on the team heading to nationals and competing for Bates at that level. So she not only did it, but she opened up eyes to all of her teammates, her classmates, and just showed us, sometimes you just don't know what someone's capable of until they really go for it. And she did that. And she was so responsible for it. She She didn't ask for any extra attention. She just did everything we asked and did it well all the time. Always worked hard, never took it easy, and always was grateful for the opportunity. And that's great. She never felt like she deserved it. She was thankful. And that kind of person on a relay and on your team is huge.
And then Elizabeth Cullen, team captain this year, so obviously another strong leader for the Bobcats.
Yeah, this list is unbelievable as we go through it, and we're only on the C's right now. but like, honestly, Cullen was a distance swimmer. She had probably one of those upbringings in the sport where you just see a ton of yards all the time and you can lose your zest and love for it. And it can be tough. And I know she had tough moments in club and high school swimming before she got to Bates, but she came to us and was our biggest fan from day one. There's an article from her freshman year, and she just speaks about the experience on the Bates swim team as the best thing in the entire world. And she carried that all 4 years. And when we saw her come back from her study abroad with a broken ankle and then still just battle back and do whatever it takes to be a great member of the team, it was like a no-brainer when she got elected captain. I mean, she hardly had a season junior year, but that was Elizabeth. That was Cullen. She was that type of leader, and everybody respected what she did and how hard she worked.
Catherine Peterson, another senior for the women's team, top 10 all time, the 50-yard breaststroke, and also top 10 100-yard breaststroke. What can you say about her?
She was a project. Like, honestly, we didn't know what to do with her freshman year, but we didn't have a lot of breaststrokers. And so we said, hey, we're full on the freestyle, we're full on the fly, which are your favorite two events coming out of high school. But if you want to swim in meets, we only have 2 breaststrokers. So you'll always get into a meet as a breaststroker. And if you're good at butterfly, we can probably teach you some stuff here. And she was not that good. I mean, it was not pretty, but there was something really special about Catherine. I mean, this determination and this hard work. I mean, you probably talk to Mike Stelzer, and he'll name her as one of the top 3 people he's worked with in the last 4 years. She did everything she could in the weight room, in the pool, with the power racks, with the technique, with the equipment we have. And she turned herself into a top 10 breaststroker in program history, and was on pace to break, have a chance at breaking school records this year based on her junior year performances. And we just were blown away her junior year at what had transpired in the first 2 years, and so ready to just enjoy senior year. I mean, she was arguing with me about going to nationals on the medley relay. She's like, don't forget to consider me. And I'm like, holy cow, like, here's someone I was hoping to get into meets, and now she's talking to me about heading to nationals with us. That was Catherine. Like, I'm here. I'm pretty amazing. I'm going to do this. And that mentality is what got her to those top 10 times and made her just another great role model for the women's and men's team of what's possible.
Lily Scott, not only a NESCAC all-sportsmanship team selection in 2019-2020, also a team captain this year for Bates.
Yeah. And Lily came into us as a sprint freestyler, and she was also hit by the injury bug over her 4 years. And we were really looking forward to like a healthy senior year. She came back to us after going abroad junior year, first semester, but she was only abroad for 4 weeks because she had broke her ankle so bad that in South Korea, they said, well, why don't you get home to your doctors, and it's going to be better for your rehab than doing it here in another continent with, a language issue and just all that's happening around you. So she cut her abroad experience short, recouped and refocused, and came back to go lifetime best her junior year and get on relays for her first time ever and score in events and just swim one great swim after another. And I just looked at her again, another just tremendous story, and said, how did you get here from where we started the season, where we were writing emails back and forth about, how bad this injury is and how you can't even be in another country because it's not a sprained ankle. This thing is snapped and broken. Like, the chances of you coming back are slim. And here you are on the conference team, which was hard enough to make if you're healthy and having everything go right, and everything went wrong and you're here and you're going lifetime best. And now you're on relays representing us at night. Like, it was just awesome. And again, her and Cullen coming back and being captains after that, those experiences just speaks to what they did on the pool deck with their teammates and how much they were loved and respected.
Great. Now moving to the men's team. Once again, in alphabetical order, we'll start with one of the captains, Nick Antonellis, one of the top 10 all-time in 400-yard IM and 200-yard IM.
Yeah, Nick is all-around swimmer. He made a joke that he was a 400 IMer, but he was only really 3/4 of a 400 IMer because there was always that one stroke that would give him fits. Average at best, Aaron, if I'm not lying. Like, he was a worker, and that's how he got to be in those elite levels of our rankings. And I think at one point he even had a school record before it was broken right after him in his freshman year, when the next swimmer on the team went in and went just a little bit faster in that 4 IM. But Nick is the glue, happy, excited, showing up at practices, talking all the time, encouraging his teammates. I would write something impossibly hard, and where most people are like upset and angry that someone is going to make them do that, he would smile like, this guy's nuts, but I'm going to do it. And his teammates would appreciate that, and he would shake his head and go, and with just the greatest attitude. And he said it best his senior night. He said, swimming was so important to him, but at its most important was that this was a family that he got to be a part of, that believed in the right things. And he was just a great example of that, and really appreciated finding another group of people around him that did that also.
Terrific. And the other captain on the men's side is Lee Emmerich. He's also top 10 all time, this time in the 200-yard backstroke at number 9 right now. Didn't swim at nationals, but you've often talked about how you like some of your captains, or almost all your captains, maybe not necessarily be people going to NCAAs, they can show kind of dedication to the program to incomer and swimmers regardless of results, right?
Yeah, I mean, to see that you don't have to be an All-American to be captain is a great message to send the team. It's about dedication and consistency. Lee, interestingly enough, has rheumatoid arthritis as RA as a young man, and he has been dealing with issues and pain and joint issues with his hands and elbows and wrists ever since I've known him. And he just continually found a way to get through our workouts, to get through the weight room, to do all that he could, and improve and score points at the NESCAC meet and be dependable. And he did it quietly. And Lee is not someone you peg as a captain, because he is quiet and he's getting the job done. But he's not the vocal leader, or he's not the one winning races. But he was doing stuff all 3 years leading up to his senior year that made his teammates go, this is someone that's reliable, consistent, dependable, and that we will follow. And Lee deserved that accolade his senior year, getting that captain title. And he continued to show up every single day this year to every practice that we offered. And he found a way. And he was one that should have been most nervous during COVID with the pre-existing condition that he has in his immune system, where it was because of the drugs he was on. So like, I look at Lee and I have so much respect, and I listen to him talk to his teammates, and I see the impact he has. And we were just really lucky to have Lee there.
And Aki George Taylor, tallest swimmer on the team at 6'6", and great in the butterfly, right?
Yeah, he was a sprint freestyler and butterflyer. He'll tell you his best event was the 50 and 100. I'll tell you his best is 25. Just getting that guy off the blocks into the other end would work. Aki was a sprinting machine, and he had a very different background growing up in Nigeria and Lagos, Nigeria, and then coming to the States, putting himself through high school and figuring that out, and then walking onto Bates campus and navigating all that it is to be a Bobcat, and all the expectations in the classroom, in the pool, and in the social life. And Aki had his ups and downs over 4 years, but there was no doubt that he respected what we were doing, the team around him, and wanted to perform. And Aki was from a different culture and a different place, and it was a lot to learn and a lot to take in. And we grew as a program as we saw somebody attack things in a really unique way, and find ways to stick with it and be there and connect with his teammates, and make it to NESCACs each year.
And last but not least, among the seniors, Samuel Montenegro. Tell us about him.
Yeah, Sam was the best underwater dolphin kicker I have coached at Bates College. the best kicker in general. We have a lot of records because you can't just forget about your legs in the pool. And his strokes were all the engine. They were all built around his legs. And he was just consistent, hardworking. I mean, I think Sam might have grown the most over 4 years in terms of growing into a man, into being a better human, a better adult over his 4 years. And he was kind of wide-eyed and following at the beginning, and impressionable. And by the end, he was in charge and a leader and taking kids under his wing. And he was just a success story from beginning to end. Did really well in the classroom, did really well in the pool, and was there every single day for us, making us better and challenging his teammates in the pool during practices. So I was really lucky to have Sam here too.
Excellent. So, well, any other thoughts you want to share about the senior class? Maybe its personality or what you're most memorable about them, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, this is a senior class that right out of the gate, right in the beginning, was very close. And they forged this togetherness that was really special. And then as they grew, we saw them sophomore and junior year in very important moments step up to challenges when we really needed them. And we had some great juniors abroad when they were sophomores, and they stepped up to play amazing roles on the team while those people were around. Junior year, they stepped up when we traveled to Dartmouth, and we had training trip moments where we needed our juniors to be the leaders on the team. They were there to do that. And then, senior year, they just, they were part of this team because of an enthusiasm and love for the sport, each other, and their teammates. And so when you look at a class that had this togetherness, this ability to rise to challenges and be there when the team needed them the most, and then finished off in a crazy year with no dual meets, no nationals, no NESCAC, but never missed a beat and were still there because they loved the sport, loved each other, and loved the team, then you have this love, you have this togetherness, and you have this just strong ability to step up and perform when it really matters. So they knew how to win also. And those things are just really rare. And we got to see that. And all the things that made them who they were really helped us out senior year because it all came together. And they not only, talked about leading this team, but they did lead us. And they were impactful. And it was a year when any senior had every right in the world to disappear and just focus in on themselves and their careers ahead of them. But they took time to make the team better. And that type of leadership is so unique. And I couldn't have been more thrilled to face a challenge in a pandemic with this group than any other group I could imagine. So we were lucky this year and very thankful. And I wish them the best of luck. It's a really great group full of really successful people going forward.
Awesome. Peter Casares, thank you as always for joining us on the Bobcast. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Aaron. Keep up the great work.
The track and field teams competed at Tufts over the weekend in another non-scoring meet. Both teams set a number of personal records, and quite a few Bobcats should be earning all NESCAC honors for their performances this year. We will have much more track and field coverage when we preview the NCAA championships later this month. And next time on the Bates Bobcast, we'll salute the seniors of Bates Squash, another winter sports team that unfortunately did not get to compete this year. That's next time on the Bates Bobcast. Fight till the end of every game. Fight